No pun intended episode. What are we on now? 15, 16, 16.
16.
Yeah, I can't believe we made it 16 episodes. That's already, I mean, we say that every single episode. We can't make it. I can't believe we made it another episode. How's it going tonight, Matt?
Going great. How are you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing well. I'm still in like candidates hangover mode. What a whirlwind of a last round. Really like the last few rounds. We had a huge Naka comeback. We had a huge Fabi comeback. And we just kind of found ourselves in the last round like anything could happen. And Gukesh, of course, reigned supreme. He held the draw pretty equal throughout the whole game against Nakamura. And Fabio was not able to convert his winning advantage to force a playoff. So Gukesh wins clear out. Matt has become a massive Gukesh fanboy over about the last 48 hours. So what is it about Gukesh that allowed him to win the candidates this year? Youngest ever candidate winner in chess history.
So, the impression I get is that Gukesh is an extremely practical and solid player. And I think for a tournament like the candidates, you need a lot of mental fortitude. You got to be able to make it through all 14 games. Don't get on tilt. Don't get too tired. And a lot of players feel they need to press for a win in the candidates. So, if you have a style where you're solid and you wait for your chances like Gukesh, and you have the endurance and you're young, I think it's the perfect formula. And like you said, I'm a huge Gukesh fan now. I hope he beats Ding Liren, and I hope he's the champion for another 10 years and he has other young players start to challenge him.
Yeah, how cool would it be if I mean, he's 17. He'll probably be, well, he will be 18 when they play the actual match. When, by the way, it's astonishing that they don't have the day set for like the World Championship match. Do you feel like we should have that locked down? Like we know it's going to be in 3 months or something. We have no idea. It could be in November. It could be in, you know, June. We have no idea. Um, Sorry, slight tangent there, but I think it'd be really cool if he beats Ding handily and he reigns like Magnus did for years and years. Especially if he can get up to like Magnus's level for FIDE rating,
Yes.
because right now it's clearly Magnus number one, everyone else below Magnus, everyone's kind of fighting for second, and Gukesh for sure has a claim for number two right now after winning the candidates. Um, I've seen a few takes on how this world championship is going to go. So let's speculate. Um, Magnus had a really good video with chess.com. It was a lie detector test. It was him and David Howell just kind of like they're old friends, so they're just kind of like BSing each other, having a good time. But David Howell asked him, "Do you think this is before we knew who was going to win the candidate? So they must have filmed it a couple weeks ago." He said, "Do you think Ding Liren is going to defend his title versus whoever win the candidates?" And Magnus flat out just said no. I don't think he's going to win, and I kind of agree with that. What do you think?
I agree too. It's funny. I watched that video today as well, which was really cool to see Magnus's thoughts. And I think he can just sense that Ding Liren's not on his A game, and he's also playing the odds. He may not have said Gukesh would beat Ding Liren at the time of that recording, but
Yeah,
he knew Fabiano, Hikaru, Yan are probably all three of those are favorites to win the candidates, and all three favorites to beat Ding Liren. But then if Gukesh shows he outperforms those three, wouldn't he also be a favorite to beat Ding Liren?
yeah, you got to think so. And for 17 years old, when you listen to his post-game interviews and stuff, he seems way older than 17. Like he's got a sick beard. He's only 17 years old. It's so not
Yeah,
fair. Like
full
you,
beard.
I could, yeah, I could believe 30 for sure. So that's cool. I do think he is going to be, if I had to like put a betting number on it, I'd say like negative 125, like really close, but I think Gukesh is actually going to be a favorite.
Um,
Um, and I was watching a Hikaru stream a little bit today too, and he said that he thinks it's going to be one or the other. Like someone is going to dominate and just roll over the opponent. It could be Ding is just on another level, like he plays really well, and Kikesh just kind of folds, or it's going to be the other way around. He says he doesn't think it's going to be like Yan and Ding, where there's a bunch of back and forth, a bunch of decisive games. They're just kind of like going, punch for punch, taking games off each other. He thinks it's going to be a pretty convincing victory one way or the other.
One thing I found interesting is I looked up the stats between Ding and Gukesh. Do you know their classical head to head?
Yeah, Ding is 2-0, right?
2-0, both wins with the black pieces, and they
Oh,
were
really?
I think I forget which tournament it was, Todd of Steel, I want to say, or one of those kind of big classical tournaments, and it was like in the last 2 years. So Dingler has beat him twice in a row with black.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, we'll see. It's kind of cool that they only have two games against each other, so they're not super familiar with each other's playing style, at least like playing over the board at least. Yeah, we're seeing in the chat both was at Tata. Yeah, that sounds right to me. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, only two games between them. It's not like some long rivalry. Um, okay, FIDE would have to totally fumble if they did not put this in India, right? They've gotta.
Oh yeah, that would be massive. Can you imagine the fan base? They would go crazy.
Oh, there'd be potentially a million people there watching. I mean, there was three Indian players in the candidates, a ton of young talent there. Obviously, Prague, obviously Gukesh, who won the candidates, but there's also like Nihal Sarin. Who are some other strong Indian GMs?
Arjun Erigaisi,
Oh, yes, that's right.
and he's
Um,
top 10 in the world right now based on rating.
yeah, you're right. He just went on a nice little tear too. Yeah, looking at other people.
In
Yeah,
Vidit,
that
people kind of slept on Vidit after he had a slow start to the candidates, but I think his peak rating was, yeah, he was number 14 in the world at his peak back in January, 2742. Oh,
yeah.
February, actually. Sorry, February.
Yeah, so he's for sure, I don't know, got a lot for him going for him too. So there's a ton of young talent in India, and I think that's going to be a huge, I mean, they've got to do it in India. They just gotta, do you think that's going to help Gukesh or do you think that's going to hurt Gukesh being at home?
Magnus said he didn't like the event being held in Norway, so there could be extra pressure on him, but he seems so calm and collected. I don't think that'll hurt him. I think it might actually help him. I think being a young guy, you'll have a lot of support behind him and all the resources and kind of things you're used to, especially if it's near his hometown. I'm not sure where he lives, but if you could somehow sleep in your own bed or at least be close to home, that'd be kind of nice. Go home on a rest day.
Yeah, I
Should
think I think it helps that he is the challenger, so like the pressure, there's not so much pressure on him to like defend his title or something. But I think of, okay, I always bring this back to the UFC, but I think of people who fight in their hometown in the UFC, it seems like they're just always losing. Like Volk
Oh,
at home against Islam, like one of the best fights ever, but he lost. Derek Lewis, the heavyweight, he's fought in Texas, his home state, like three times, and he's 0-3. So I wonder if there's something you get like that pressure to perform in front of the crowd. I'm not sure, but either way, I am very looking forward to the match. It was weird the last couple days not having candidates to turn into, like see what's going on, follow the games, check out the openings. It's just been quiet, but a nice change of pace, I guess.
now
And
we're watching
looking
these
for,
other YouTube videos, right? We're watching the
yeah,
lie detector with Magnus. Uh, there was what was your favorite takeaway from the lie detector video?
from the lie detector video.
Yeah.
Um, It was interesting when he asked if Magnus regretted stepping away from the World Championship circuit. And Magnus basically said, like, there are times that I regret it, but overall, as a net, no, I don't regret walking away. And they said he said that that was true. And I thought that was really interesting. What were some of your favorites?
There was a lot of disrespect for Howell. And I don't know,
Yeah.
the accuracy of those tests is sort of debatable. So I'm sure
Yeah.
afterward they're like, yeah, it was wrong half the time. But anytime there was a question about Howell, Magnus pretty much had no respect for him, which I thought was sort of funny because they're good buddies. And then
Yeah.
there was the question from David. It was, would you work on another book with me again? And I think Magnus said, yeah, I think I would. And the lie detector test guy is be like, that was a lie.
Yeah, Magnus said like, yeah, I like doing charity work.
Yeah, that's right. That's what he
And they
said.
get a laugh, and then the lie detector guy's like, it sounds like or he said, it looks like he's not going to be doing another book with you.
Yeah, that's right.
David Howell did ask him if he thought he was the best looking chess player in the room, and Magnus said no, and it was true. So that was an interesting, like, humble. There's another one where David Howell asks, like, do you respect my game and my level? And Magnus is like, yeah, for sure. And the guy's like, that's a lie. And then Magnus just cracks up laughing. So, so funny. That's so on brand for Magnus. I love it.
I wonder if any of it was a little bit scripted for content, just like
Yeah.
the one punchliner.
Yeah.
Um, the Magnus being asked if he was the GOAT was interesting too, because he
Oh, yeah.
thought about it for a second, and then he said something about Kasparov, and essentially they were like, "Nope, that was a lie."
Yeah. Yeah. Because he said, no, he doesn't think he's the best of all time. But then it was a lie. He's like, well, I thought that's what I thought, but maybe not. Deep down,
Hmm.
he maybe thinks he could take him. Prime
Yeah.
for prime, pound for pound. Yeah, so I noticed a lot of people in the candidates were rooting for anti-Jan. It's like anyone but Jan was kind of like the sentiment. And I agreed with that. I did not want to see Jan, but I couldn't quite put my finger on why. But a lot of people were, of course, rooting for Hikaru and Fabiano because they're Americans. And a lot of people wanted to see like a young up and comer take it all like Gukesh did. Um, so I saw on Reddit, someone summed it up just perfectly. I can't remember the guy's username, but someone asked the question like, why is nobody rooting for Jan? What's going on? Like he's won the last two candidates. What's going on? And this guy says, so in the candidates, Hikaru and Fabi have huge fan bases due to their strong online presence. Naka with streaming and Fabi with this podcast. Also, Fabi with giving Magnus a run for his money a couple world championships ago and being from the US. That was my own commentary. But Vidit, Prague, and Gukesh are also hyped on the large number of Indian chess fans. The latter two being exciting prodigies also helps a lot. So Prague and Gukesh, like very young prodigies. Nipa, on the other hand, doesn't really have anything of that sort. He's not that young. He's not like a clear underdog. He doesn't really have much social media presence. He did some streaming back in the day, but not really in anything recently. And some of his tweets kind of like are being cryptic, according or kind of accusing Naka and others of cheating in the past. Doesn't really look good. Also, in general, a lot of people don't want the Ding versus Nepo rematch, and I think that really sums up a lot of people's thoughts. Like, I don't know, I didn't really think about the Naka tweets thing for Jan, but like, I just didn't really want to see a rematch. He's had his opportunity a couple times. It's kind of like when Vichy had been in the World Championship a couple of times, and he was in the candidates again, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I kind of want to see someone other than Vichy." So yeah, it makes sense. Is that kind of where you were at too with that?
Yeah, I think that was a perfect summary. And when Jan first hit the big stage, when he first challenged Magnus, I think people wanted to back him more, right? Someone knew he was playing really strong. And even chess.com, remember they had him, I don't know if it was a partnership or he was kind of their sponsored athlete or player, but they were kind of pushing him big. And at the time, I believe Magnus was still part of the Play Magnus group, so separate from chess.com. But then ever since then, it seems like chess.com stopped talking about him essentially. Like, yeah, he's not like a chess.com sponsored player anymore. And then I think the cryptic tweets really hurt him. So when he does say something, it's confusing, right? It's not funny or quality content or instructive. It's kind of you got to look at the social media presence of the player. And I don't think Jan has a great brand right now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, I did think his stock went up at the end of the Fabiano game because you could tell they were both in such pain.
Hmm.
Because Fabi, of course, had the winning position, and then Jan kind of saved a draw. And at the very end, Jan was like, "I'm so sorry," and Fabi said, "It's like, no, it's my fault," and then he just kind of like walked away. Neither of them happy because Jan, I think, wanted Fabi to beat him like fair and square, but he wasn't going to give like he wasn't going to throw, obviously. But I don't think he would have mind seeing Fabi actually like earn a victory over him and then go at least get a chance for the playoff. So I think Jan weirdly felt guilty about taking or drawing him. Is that kind of how you read that?
Yeah, I think so. Could you imagine the drama though, had one of them thrown that endgame?
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
that would be like a huge moral. I don't know if I don't know. That would have been strange. That would have been crazy.
yeah, someone just misses the perpetual check move and that player goes on to beat Gukesh in the tie breaks. That would be insane.
Yeah,
Because how do you
India
prove
would.
it?
Yeah, India would hate him.
Yeah,
Would hate Jan. Um, yeah, Nepo versus Naka was the world championship for making faces. Great.
they don't play
Yes.
chess. It's just a face battle.
Yeah. Just who can like make the weirdest faces for the longest time without like laughing or something. But yeah, their expressions are so flamboyant. It's fun to watch them over the board.
We
Yeah.
should we should try to
Uh,
catalog them like Danny Wrench does and make it into a blog post.
yeah, that's true. That's fun. We should do that. Like uh Jan's top five reactions during the candidates. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Who wants to go through all the footage for us? Um, all right. Did you see Naka in the post interview getting emotional over the tournament?
No.
Oh yeah, someone asked him about, I can't remember what the question was, but you could tell that he realized that he was like his time at the top level in chess is behind him. Like there's more time in the past that he's been at the top level than is in the future, and he's aware of that. Yes, he's still like a phenomenal player, obviously, but qualifying for the candidates is hard. Winning the candidates is hard. He's 36 now. So he's getting up there. You don't know, you never know if this is his last chance to really make a run for the world championship. And so I think that was just kind of getting to him, like all the hard work he's put into, all the, opening prep, all the everything. It could have been his last chance ever. And he just kind of ended last Sunday.
And ratings are very streaky. And if you look at all of his colleagues, players near his age that used to be at the top, there's so many of them. I mean, we have Aronian, Mabadyarov, Wesley So, Anish Giri, Karyakin. All of these players have fallen, right? And a lot of them were solid number twos for a multi-year stretch. He has to know the writing's on the wall. And at some point, he's just going to drop and he'll be 27, 30, and he'll be 38 years old and he's never going to get back there. It's
Yep.
coming at some point, which is kind of sad, but he has to face it.
Yeah, it's true, and it's sad that like Nakamura has completely changed the game of chess with his streaming, and to see him perform at the top level in classical chess, it's been really cool, and you just never know when that's going to come to an end.
Oh,
Um,
here's a question for you. There is an exception to this, Vishy Anand.
yeah,
Do you think someone like Fabiano or Hikaru could become the next Vishy or even Magnus, where they just hang around that top 10 level for another 20 years?
I could see Magnus for sure hanging around the top 10 for the next 20 years. He's only 33.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see him being in the top 10 when he's 43 easily. He may
So,
even be number one in 10 years.
so do you think it's just because Vishy was so high? He was such a strong player that the fall, like he still fell, but the fall was higher than the other players. Whereas
Yeah.
Hikaru, when he falls, will be lower because he was never number one.
Yeah, I wonder how much it has to do too with being a very like instinctual player versus relying on deep calculation. Because when you get older and older, that calculation, I feel like that sharpness and calculation is kind of the first thing to go. But if you can intuitively play very good chess, I think you have like more staying power. So I guess between Fabi and Naka, maybe Naka would like have more longevity in the chess game.
That's
But I don't know. Fabi's no slouch either, so it's hard to know.
That's a really interesting point, Jesse, because Vishy was known for his blitz and rapid skills before many players even cared about blitz and rapid and before online chess was popular.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We want to take a second to thank everyone who is joining us. It is so fun to see the podcast grow. We are the fastest growing chess podcast on iTunes, hosted by us. So we thank you all for tuning in. If you want to give us a like or subscribe or a rating, it is greatly appreciated. Thank you all for listening. Can't thank you enough. Gotham Chess released a video today. Did you see it?
I only saw the thumbnail. So what happened?
Yeah, so I watched it. It was basically like two game reviews he played against really strong opposition. One, he got the victory, but at the beginning of the video, he talked about how he is coming out of retirement for online, competitive chess, and he's going to try to make another run for Grandmaster,
Hmm.
which I know he said a while ago, like he is done. He's never going back. He's never playing like serious chess again. He even like didn't want to play Title Tuesday for a while. So I am surprised to hear that he's coming back. It would be hard in his position, honestly, to try to like put yourself out there and try to make a run for Grandmaster, given that you have so many eyes on you, you have a lot to lose. So massive kudos to him for trying it out again. So he said they're going to do the Clash of Claims event, which is a 32 game blitz match between um, Vladimir Kramnik and Jospim or Jose Martinez. And after that, he's going to start playing some OTB chess again. So I think he said he's coming back in June, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to play a game in June, and he's just going to start posting videos about it. And I am seriously rooting for him because I hope he has a good run, at least like boost his rating up a little bit. I know he said that he was like sat or like disgusted by his current FIDE rating. I think I could check it, but I think it's around like 2350, something like that, maybe a little higher. But I think he's clearly 2400 plus. There's no question about that. So we'll see what happens. I think, I mean, he clearly has the resources to get a really good coach. It's just a matter of how much time he's going to be able to dedicate while also making chess videos full time. Maybe he's going to pull back on YouTube a little bit. I don't know. What do you think his odds are of making GM?
I think it's really dependent on how hard he tries. Because I'm assuming his routine right now probably is a full 40-ish hour week in terms of all the different content he makes and stuff he does for his social media presence. So how many of those 40 hours are you going to trade for prepping? Because we'll get into the Gukesh home tour a little bit coming up, but I think you have to live a life like Gukesh to make it to that next level. And we've seen Amon Hambleton successfully make it, and
Yeah,
we've seen John Bartholomew not make it in his last push for it, but he might still make another push. But I think it's very grueling. Both of those guys seem like they were kind of exhausted with the process. It's just you're putting yourself out there, it's a lot of pressure, and it's super difficult to become a grandmaster.
yeah. Yeah, and I think John is objectively just a little bit stronger than Levy, probably like 50, 60 FIDE points higher rated. But he got so close to getting a norm. And it's my opinion that if he would have gotten one norm in that, like big push he did a few years ago, I think he would have kept going to get that third norm and get the 2500 because he was within 20 rating points. And if he would have had one norm, it's only one norm to go plus 20 rating points. I think he would have gone for it. So unlucky that he missed out on a norm in a couple events by like half a point.
That's a great
Okay,
point though
so
about the rating, because so you're saying Gotham's 2350?
let me look right now.
Because that's a lot of points to gain at 2350 level.
Okay, he's even lower. He's 2322. So is that right? Yeah, he is 2322. He's been 2322 for a little over a year, almost 2 years. So he's got to make up 180 rating points.
Okay,
But that being said, he was, 2400 for a while, like right around in that 2400 range. So let's say his true rating right now is like 2390. So like those first 70 points should come kind of just from him getting games in.
and he's 29 years old.
He's born in 95, so he's 29 years old. Yeah.
Okay, I like to try to look at the glass half full and be positive, but realistic odds, I'm going to say under 1%.
Really, that's sad.
I, I I just think that's way too many points to gain at such a high level. Just gaining the points is going to be extremely hard. Um, yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts in the chat? What percent chance do you think Levy will get it? If he goes all out, doesn't care at all about content creation, and just let's say does 40 hours a week, working on being a GM, working with a coach, maybe multiple coaches, going to all the events. You got to plan a lot of events. Just law of averages. You can't have a bad streak and only play a few events. If all of those things fall into place and he spends, let's say, 5 years doing it, maybe I'd give him 5%. But I just think it's very likely that he's going to give up on it pretty early on because it's going to be such a grueling process. And he's already said he gets um, the effects of nervousness, kind of like you do at OTB events,
Oh
like the
yeah.
physical effects while sitting at the board. How long is he going to want to put up with that?
Yeah, for
I don't
sure. You
know.
wonder if he's gonna have like he has a few bad tournaments. Is he gonna want to like even come back and do more, or is he just gonna like end it early? Okay, I put the poll up. Odds of Levy making GM, 2 votes for 5 to 50%, huge range, but I only had 4 options. And under 5% gets 2 votes. So yeah, I think maybe like 5, 10%. It really depends on how much dedication, how much effort he's gonna put into it. But time will tell. He's going to come back, I think he said in June. So we will see how it goes. We will be watching it closely, probably covering his games on this podcast even. Here's a fun fact about Gotham that I have dropped in the podcast before. But whenever Levy is playing an OTB tournament, we have one blog post on how to get a Grandmaster norm. That 10, 100x's in traffic when he's in a tournament because everyone's trying to figure out how can you make a GM norm? How is he going to become a GM? And we lay it out really simply in that blog post, and it gets a lot of traffic when he's playing. So that is a cool Levy Gotham Chess effect. Levy, if you're watching, come on the podcast, man. We'd love to have you.
We'll squeeze you
Um,
in.
yeah, yeah, we'll make room for you. Okay, can you go over Gukesh's home tour? I did not watch this.
So YouTube, the smart YouTube algorithm showed me a Gukesh home tour on YouTube today, and it was recorded, I think, 3 months ago, but it has over 500,000 views when I looked at it. And he lives such a simple life, Jesse. It's amazing. So they go into kind of what looks like a flat. It's the width of one room, and they just go right in his front door. He lives with his parents still, I believe. And in his front room, he has a table with a physical chessboard, and then it's sort of an L shape. And around the L, he has a laptop. And then next to that, he has a desktop. Well, he doesn't use the desktop. That's where his dad comes in there and does some work. So he essentially has a laptop and a physical board. And then he has a bookshelf with his favorite chess books and his favorite nonfiction books. And then he has up above a big trophy case with all of his trophies. And then there's this little room hidden behind a curtain. And they saved it for the end of the home tour, but they pulled the curtain away. Do you know what's in his secret room?
Life-size cutout of Magnus.
A bed. That's it. And what he does is he goes in there, he sleeps, goes back, trains, goes back and sleeps. And then
Wow.
he has a few rackets. He has a badminton racket, a tennis racket. He likes to play carom, so he had a carom board. I guess his mom is really good at it. And I think there was one other sport. Oh, cricket.
No
So he loves.
pickleball?
No, I didn't see a pickleball paddle. We'll have to get him into that. But so he just does he does sports in the evenings, he says, with his friends. But then during the day, he just has this very almost monk-like routine, it seems. At least that's what the interviewer was saying, where it's just like he studies, he sleeps. And one interesting thing with Gukesh is I was reading that he was brought up not using engines for a very long time in the start of his career. So to learn chess without engines is really impressive.
Yeah, that's interesting. So like I said, I haven't seen this. So what kind of house is it? Is it like a big house? Are they in a tiny house? Is it an apartment complex or what is it?
They only showed that front room. So the impression I got is it's probably kind of a vertical, either apartment or townhouse, where the first room is his, and then maybe you go up the stairs and like his parents are upstairs or something. Because he
Oh,
was like right in the entryway. But it was interesting. The nonfiction books he likes to read are all about famous athletes. So he has a lot on
ah,
tennis players like Rafa. Andre Agassi he had Usain Bolt book. He likes to just read about people that are super successful, which I found very fascinating.
Yeah, so yeah, that's he's like kind of preparing himself to be like world class at something or like trying to learn what it means to be world class in your discipline. So yeah, that's really cool. He's kind of like expecting very high things of himself, almost like he's like working backwards from becoming the world champion. Like, how do people get there? It's a cool
Yeah.
mindset.
And you know how some books and people say you kind of are who you hang out with?
Yeah.
Probably the next best thing is you are what you immerse yourself in, right? So if you're just constantly reading about greatness, and he said he really enjoys autobiographies in particular,
Hmm.
because they asked him why he doesn't have one on, I'm going to get his name wrong, Djokovic, the
Yeah,
other tennis
Novak.
player,
Yeah.
Novak. And he said there was like one book he had on him, but it wasn't an autobiography, so he didn't like it as much. But yeah,
Okay.
he's just like embracing this whole mindset of being a champion. And then he talks about his favorite chess books. This was really interesting. His favorite chess book was the Alpha Zero book by Matthew Sadler called Game Changer.
Yeah.
And then he talks about two other ones that he likes, Practical Chess Beauty and Under the Surface. And he seems to just be someone who loves the, well, beauty is in one of the titles, but like the beauty of chess positions. He just loves that aspect of it.
So what is the Alpha Zero book about? Do you know?
I have that book and now I'm inspired to read it because I never actually read it. I just thumbed through it quickly. But it's analyzing Alpha Zero games, the published games that were against Stockfish. And
Okay.
I think they categorize it into the different things that we learned from Alpha Zero.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I mean, anytime you can go out and beat Stockfish, like it's just like such a mysterious part of chess. Like you're beating what we think is the best handily. It's wild.
And that
Yeah,
when
Pressa J says I gotta start hanging out with Gukesh. Yeah.
yes,
Uh, sounds like Fischer locking himself into a closet until he mastered the rook in games. Yikes. Hey guys, I used your black reply to the London and OTB Classical over the weekend and it worked perfectly. So thanks. Awesome. That is great to hear. We had a video on that a while ago. We can link in the description as well. Sorry, were you going to say something? I feel like I interrupted you there.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say when Alpha Zero beat Stockfish, that was prior to Stockfish using neural network knowledge. And that sort of inspired the leap for them to get into adding the neural network stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why they did it because they got embarrassed.
Yeah.
Not embarrassed, but they kind of got crushed. Okay, and you said another one was Practical Chess Beauty and Under the Surface. Interesting. I haven't heard of those two.
I'd only heard of Under the Surface. I don't know anything about those books though.
Okay. So ones to add to your book list for sure.
I think so.
Um, yeah, for sure. If you want to get on our email list, I highly recommend it because we're going to be dropping a big sale real soon within the next couple of days. You can go to chessgoals.com/newsletter and we would appreciate that. You can also get your free study plan in the links below, and we'll make sure to link that in the description. I actually don't see it there right now. Um, all right. So what do you have going on this summer, Matt? Kind of off topic. Done with chess stuff. Now we're just gonna hang out. What do you have going on this summer, next few months?
Great question. Uh, Definitely a lot of pickleball as much as I can play. Trying to
Yeah,
get
how much
a
are you playing
little.
these days?
I'm playing. Well, I haven't played much in the last couple of weeks, but I try to play every weekend and every Wednesday at a minimum. Wednesday is my day off. But I think, this summer they have a bunch of leagues and ladders that start at 5 p.m. So it's kind of like evening stuff. I'm gonna try to get into some of that, maybe get a rating.
Nice. That'll be awesome. What else do you have going on this summer?
Hopefully a lot of chess goals stuff, some new
Yeah, for sure.
courses. Um, and then yeah, just kind of enjoying the nice weather. You had a big project this past weekend. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so those in the Discord will know it. But so let's back up. Um, in November of a couple years ago, we bought a new house, and in the spring, that next spring, we put in a big garden. So We basically mowed and cleared out basically what was a bunch of prairie, just like tall grass. So we mowed it down. We cut a bunch of sod, like top level sod, probably like 6 inches of sod off the top, and just carried it out. And then we planted a bunch of stuff right into the ground, and then we put up a big fence all the way around. So that was last year. It didn't turn out great. Like we got a bunch of good like cucumber and carrots, but a lot of the stuff didn't quite make it. So we wanted to beef it up a little bit. And so this last weekend, my dad and I built a bunch of raised garden beds. So it's basically 2x6s stacked on top of each other. So it's a foot tall, a little under a foot, and then posts in the corners. And these were 4 feet by 16 feet, so very big. And we did 15 of those. And then once those beds are all done, we brought in 10 yards of dirt, which is like two dump trucks full of dirt, and filled, like, hauled it from the pile to the beds, wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow, one by one. I probably did 150 runs of wheelbarrows full of dirt. I'm still sore,
Wow.
and got it all beefed up. So if you want to check that out, you can get into our Discord. I have pictures of like the garden in the progress pics, but that was a very rewarding project, and I really hope that we get some good stuff in the garden this year.
Yeah, you should post updates on how what things you're getting throughout the summer.
Oh yeah, we for sure will.
You feel like the
Um,
deadlifting helped with all that dirt hauling?
I feel like it wasn't so much the wheelbarrow because that wasn't super heavy, but getting the buckets of dirt from the ground into the wheelbarrow, that helped a lot. Like I could tell my strength there made that go way quicker because I can just like hoist it up with one hand and dump it with the other hand in one motion rather than like, having to squat it up or something. So just like, yeah, I could actually tell like my strength training over the last few months has actually helped. Saved a lot of time, which was good.
That's awesome. What percent of the work did the boys do with their shovels?
Maybe like 5%. They filled a
Okay.
bunch of buckets.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine doing one of those projects in like 5 years, 10 years? If you had
I
all the
can probably
boys
do
out
it in
there?
10 years.
I mean, if you
Oh,
had all
oh,
the boys out there helping with
oh yeah.
shovels, that'd be
Oh yeah.
amazing.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. It would go so much faster. So in 10 years, yeah, we'd have what would it be? 18-year-old, 16-year-old, 13-year-old. Oh yeah, 10-year-old. We'd for sure get that.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to do it for the podcast this week, unless you guys had any questions for us. All right. Thank you all for watching and supporting the channel. We will see you next episode. Bye, everyone.